Yo, 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 what it do? We out here once again with the Buff Missionary in these streets. And I was having an interesting conversation the other day. Just want to share a little bit of that with you. So, just to give you a little bit of background to that conversation, I am here at a university and I'm an assistant dean in the men's residence hall at this particular university, Andrews University. And when I tell you we've seen some interesting things from a lot of our residents this year, that might be a bit of an understatement. We don't speak in hypotheticals, and a lot of the things that you can imagine go on at a university, we've probably seen it or dealt with it here. But anyways, we were talking about kind of this this phenomenon of how everybody these days is so into tech. Even people who claim that they're not, everyone's on their phones, the iPads, you got the laptops, you got the computers, the PCs, whatever it is. People are so tuned into tech that it's absolutely ridiculous. They're in it so much. It's you could debate whether or not they're actually in the tech world or the real world more. I know at least on my iPhone it has the little screen time thing, so it shows you how much you're on your phone every day and how much time you're in each app. And I've had some days where I was up in there 6 7 hours or more on that phone. I was like, yo man, I got to cut this down. My time is dominated by the amount of time that I'm using being on the phone. But anyways, this school just ended last week, and we had sent out a bunch of communications to all the residents through email, through notes we were leaving at doors, all different kinds of correspondence in person and otherwise to let them know what the process was for moving out of the building and getting everything done, transitioning to the summer, all that kind of stuff. And you wouldn't believe, or maybe you would, I don't know. If you're in this field, maybe you have an idea, but I couldn't believe how many people kept coming in and saying they had no idea what was going on. And then, on top of that, side note, but kind of related, you think of the RAs, the resident assistants that are working in the dorms, doing check every night throughout an entire year. And some of these guys, even the ones who had been on check and seen and had interaction with their RAs just about every night for an entire school year, still don't know these dudes' names. That's crazy. I don't get that. I don't get that. But you have these same individuals, a lot of the same individuals who are coming and talking about they don't know, they didn't hear anything, they didn't see anything. We sent out multiple emails for a week straight. We're knocking on doors, handing out slips of paper, breaking down the process, in addition to signs up all over the building. And it wouldn't be hard for anyone to walk through the building and say, okay, there's something going on at this time of the year. Just by walking up one stairwell, you're going to see the same poster 15 different times all around the hall. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. And yet, a lot of these guys missed it. How? Well, when you compare the real world to the tech world, there's one big difference. I know that a lot of people, a lot of the channels that I follow on YouTube, they always say something about help us out with the algorithm by liking and subscribing, because when you do that, it makes that that production or that video more favorable to the algorithm and it pops up for more people. In other words, based on how people respond to it who do see it, more people end up getting to see it if there's a positive response. It doesn't get buried beneath everything else that's fighting for your attention. And now that I'm thinking about it, there may be more correlation here than I originally thought when I sat down to make this video. But my original premise was this. For as much as Instagram is catered to your algorithm, it shows you what you want to see. YouTube is all about the algorithm. A lot of these different social media platforms and a lot of tech in general, even if you want to talk about Google and the ads that you see when you're surfing the web or the ones that pop up while you're watching YouTube videos, those are catered to the algorithm. And this whole system of trying to say, I know you better than you know yourself, so I'm going to show you something that you're going to want to act on. But the real world, my original premise was that the real world is not made up. There's no algorithm for life. There's no algorithm for real life. And what do I mean by this? Well, you can have all this activity going on, and There's another concept as well that kind of goes with it too. Perception is reality. We'll get to that in a second. But life doesn't have an algorithm, meaning that there's going to be a lot of information that's coming towards you that is important to you. More than just what you care about or what you deem to be important or what matches your preference is actually important to you in the real world. In the digital world, it doesn't matter if there are other viewpoints. It doesn't matter if there are other opinions on topics. If it's not related to your algorithm, then you never see it. If you sign up for certain groups that lean this way or that way politically, you're going to be surprised to hear that there's different viewpoints and different understandings or different approaches to a topic. We've seen evidence happen of this all over the place recently, politically, when it comes to things like the virus that we had recently, the pandemic. We see these kinds of things all over the place where people are so shocked to learn that there's a different viewpoint than theirs out there. Never mind religion and the different things, sports, that you could have so many different discussions on. But there's an algorithm for that. When it comes to real life, there's not one. There's more data out there that we should be paying attention to that applies to each and every one of us. But because we try to walk through real life as in we're in the tech world, we end up ignoring this because it's not related to the things that I deem necessary right now. The question that raises is, how much of what's going on in the real world around us are we actually tuning into or aware of? How much are we missing out on that does have a legit impact on us in our ignorance or not? How much could we be missing? How much might we, what kind of benefits could be out there? What kind of pitfalls and things could we avoid if we were paying attention to the things that are outside of this one-track mind algorithm that we want to bring into our real lives? If you want to take issues in race, for example, you could argue that the worst time in history was in the past and that for a moment things were starting to improve. But a lot of people will tell you that today is the worst time in history in regard to race. People who have been around more than 20, 25 years know better. But without the context and without any of the real world inputs that you get to experience on a day-to-day basis, you'd never recognize that. If you tune into something that's in your tech algorithm that's telling you just one thing one way, that's the only thing you'll ever know. And you won't get a chance to see or experience anyone who's on the other side of it who has a different input, or someone from another generation who's experienced something quite different than what people are experiencing today. It's interesting. There's not an algorithm for the real life, for the real world. Yet we try to live as if it is one. So you have all these people who are missing out on all this important information because it depends on whether you can stay living in the dormitory or not. And they miss it because in their mind, that email has nothing to do with my algorithm and what I want to be faced with or what I want to deal with on any given day. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? And to a degree, as I said, I realized that maybe there might have been a new realization to this premise that I had when I sat down because of the belief that perception is reality. For a long time, I totally disagreed with this idea. I was like, no, reality is reality. I don't care what your perception is. There's what's real, and then there's what you think is real, and what you think is real doesn't matter. I was wrong. Perception is reality. Not on the baseline level, but for the person who's doing the perceiving. And this is the issue because that's how people have gotten to the point where they view real life as having an algorithm as well. It's kind of like if you're driving on the highway and you never think about it, you're just passing by all these cars and whatever. But if I tell you that we're going to start playing the punch buggy game, all of a sudden that's entered into your algorithm and you start seeing them all over the place. And at the same time that you start seeing more of those, you also are seeing less of what every other car is out there because you're not looking for it anymore. It doesn't matter what those cars are. They're there. They're real. And if there's an accident, trust me, there's something real that's happening there. But if you're not looking for it, if it doesn't matter to you in that moment, you completely write it off. Perception is reality for the one doing the perceiving. And in that way, we have kind of turned life into an algorithm. But again, it raises the question, are we willing to acknowledge that our perception may not be the only perception? Are we willing to admit that maybe my reality isn't the same as everyone else's reality? Am I willing to challenge myself to say, you know what? I can have my perception, I can have what I believe my reality is, but maybe my perception can grow. Maybe my reality can improve in its viewpoints and in its worldview. Are we open to that? So, yeah, I would say because of the tech world, we've tried to look at the real world as having an algorithm, but there's not one for it. Because of the idea, the concept that perception is reality, we're more inclined to think that there's an algorithm that works for the real world. But my challenge to you at the end of all of this discussion is just this. Can we be open to improving our perception? Can we be open to other ideas, other opinions, other sources, as opposed to everything that's in line with what we're looking for in this given moment, to see that there might be a better understanding that we can come to in the real world and how to deal with things that are really going on around us today? What do you think? Hey, let me know in the comments below. It's an open discussion. We out here. Tell me what you think about the ideas of perception as reality, whether you think that's true or not. Tell me what you think about the concept of this real world algorithm and what you see, maybe your experiences with that. And, you know, I guess if you do like and subscribe, it helps the algorithm and helps this video to get out there too. But hey, let your algorithm be something that's willing to explore the possibility to grow and to improve and to see a little bit more than just what's right in front of you. But hey, until next time, we out here. So let it do what it do, baby.